Now, it's time for our next speaker. Dr. Cate McCarty is a dementia coach and a specialist in aging studies. She operates as Dr. Cate Dementia Coach to train, speak, and write about quality of life with a dementia diagnosis. Her topic today is Spouse Like Me, when the teacher becomes the student. Dr. Cate.
Thank you all. Is this a good spot for, yes, it sounds like it is. Well, I did something special for you. We did a humor workshop yesterday, and I heard that it's always good to start with a joke. And there's different kinds of humor. Mine tends to be affiliative, meaning that I took extra special care, and Connie Francis gave me this boo-boo on my nose so that I could be humble today. So we do Adult Day over in Largo at a church, just 2 days a week. And there's this one Connie Francis LP/record/vinyl, depending on your generation, and it kept falling out. So I just pushed it a little bit higher, and I saw stars from Connie Francis. So that was our beginning. I picked this title. It was really, really very special for Maria to include me in Arden Courts, and we do so much together. And I picked this one, and I was just doing some research in the car because my husband is still driving and has a Tesla, which doubles the stress, because it's not just his reaction time, it's the car's reaction time. And he's now arguing with the car. And if Celise is still here, we don't test him right now because he still memorized the answers to the driving test. So we don't get clarity. So I'm like, oh, please tell me that USF is factoring in self-driving cars with the new testing. Probably not. So it's always stressful, so I spend a lot of time with my head down in the phone trying to not look up because there's a lot of, and my husband has dementia of the Alzheimer's type. We haven't been much clearer than that. We know that, and I quickly pulled out Tam's book as soon as I got the scan that told us where the deficits were. And that helped because I didn't understand quite what each part of the lobe of the brain did, and so that was helpful. But we still don't have a real good handle, and I'm not sure that any of us ever do have a good handle on diagnosis. So we go back March 7th, and we'll hear the big question, is it progressive or static? I know the answer to the question, but it has to be asked for Mike's sake, so he knows the answer to the question. Because part of the problem with being Dr. Cate Dementia Coach, and I have been that since we started dating, really, is that he knows all the answers. And he says, oh, that's just you. That's just you saying that. Because that's how you think. You filter it all through dementia. So we have that ongoing struggle. So into the car today, I revisited the book, Black Like Me. I had to do that because I thought this may not be politically correct to talk about, but it is a bestseller still today, and many of the schools do assign it for Black history. And this was John Howard Griffin. He wrote a small book on his experience as a journalist living as a Black person. And he literally blackened his face, which is the other PC part. But it's a very powerful document because he got to see what life was like from the other side. This title, I have been the expert for many years. I have convinced many spouses exactly what they need to do, and now I get to do it. And I can tell you, wow, I don't know nothing about this. It's very different when you're living it. It's very different from the father-in-laws and the other family members that I have been with. It's very different from the 40-plus years in nursing home assisted living world, because it's your loved one. It's like this. It's right here. So one of the things that happened with the experiment with John Howard Griffin is that he actually very quickly determined that I can't do this, and he never went out as a Black person again because it was just that challenging. And I have to say, there are so many days I say, oh, please, let's not have this diagnosis. This is just too hard. And it comes from a lot of different perspectives. It's the The ongoing questioning of yourself. How many people as spouses question yourself? It's kind of like an ongoing. Is it just me? And then if you have, depending on the personality and maybe the stage of where the person is in their diagnosis, they're blaming you. It is you. You talk too fast, you turn your head, you didn't just say that. I heard what you said, and it wasn't that. Mike's damage is in the temporal lobe, so there's a lot of reception difficulties in language. So you end up being very unsure of yourself. This is very much like a crucible. I do a lot of work with churches with our memory cafes, and I have a Bible study I wrote on graceful Alzheimer's care. And for me, it's like all the things that I have been prepped for all of my life with the different job choices I've had. And now this is it. This is like the Olympics. And so the challenge is knowing what you know. In a lot of ways, ignorance is bliss. I know a lot about dementia. I know that it's probably very unlikely that it's static. I already just told you it wasn't, but the brain still wants to say, no, maybe it'll just be static and he won't keep changing. But I know the trajectory. I know the financial trajectory. So when I was making my notes, I was thinking, it's as if there's this fulcrum, and at the base of it is finances. Because I am still young enough and didn't bring $1 million into my relationship or anything like that, that I need to continue to work. I love to work. I'm passionate about what I do. So we have that at the base, and then we have time with Mike, knowing that there's a progression and knowing that time is short, and then regret. And so this is constant, like, challenge. Can anybody else relate to this challenge of, if I do this way, am I going to one day be sitting at a memorial service wishing I hadn't done it that way? That's the regret. That's the master's degree in thanatology. That's the woman that's been at deathbeds for over 40 years, because activity directors in nursing homes tend to be the last people to spend time with you. So I have the whole regret thing that happens. And then that time is of the essence. You know, time is very precious, because there's going to be a time where I can't take Mike to Universal Studios. I mean, it was great. We just did it last week. And unless you had a very specific stage and a very specific type of dementia, it could be a nightmare for a person to go to Universal and do those simulated rides. I mean, I spent most of the time with my eyes closed. We had things flying at us and water spraying and, you know, so that could really trip a lot of folks up in a very serious way, and you'd have a lot of downside. But it worked out beautifully for Mike, and I will never regret that. The Tesla is somewhat of that as well. I think, you know, I know what my social worker coach and my posse would say, and I've heard it from some of my professional friends. But because of how I've come, the ways I have moved through this in my life, I'm very committed to quality of life, even at the expense of quantity of life. The caveat is I want to live long, so I don't want to go down in a flaming Tesla. But, you know, so it's like we're constant, again, we go back to the fulcrum, right? There's a constant balancing act, which has made me a lot more faithful. I've definitely come back to my my faith roots, and that happened on the boat when the processing was already deficit. I lived on a boat. We retired early, and some of you may relate to the denial that happens in the early stages. Graduated from USF, and Mike said, I want to retire early. I'm tired of working. Now, along with that statement was, I used to have 20 projects on my desk. Now I can hardly manage one. Dr. Cate, Dementia Coach, did she hear that part? Did I share that with my posse, Bernadette? Nope. You know, I have a posse of people that I call it my posse. It's my caregiving constellation. That's the official academic term. But these are folks that I go to try to vent, to keep me in check a little bit, but never crossed the screen. And honestly, we were on the boat in the Caribbean 3 years before it dawned on me that perhaps I was foolish to have moved onto a boat with a person who couldn't manage their projects. Because denial is a safe spot, I think. In a lot of ways, I would never turn those years in the Caribbean. And it took our family and a whole lot of effort from a whole lot of support to get us off the boat. You know, and part of that was the changing and processing. Like, we were suddenly in, the finances were very based on living on a hook. So we lived on the hook, which is, you know, free. And we were making our own water. And this was one of the signs that things had changed, is that all of a sudden the water filters were always black. And you couldn't get them clean. So Mike, you know, are you doing the process for the water filter? Well, I think I am. It's a 5-step process. Well, what if it's a 7-step process and we lost 2? And so suddenly I had to take that on. And I didn't do it well. And I was very fearful when there were storms where we were going to go. We, of course, added extra drama by having 2 cats aboard. So you have the cats howling when things aren't going well. So, yeah, it's never enough, you know. I think I have a family of pig pens. I think of the pig pen character in Peanuts, where he always has this cloud. We have a cloud of drama around us. So the cats add that little cloud for us. We now live in an RV. And this is how I know that, not that my Redeemer lives, but that dementia is for real, is that we went to the RV show, 2nd year. I promised me, Bernadette, I won't go next year. Last year we bought a new RV, so now there's a mortgage on a tin can. It's a big tin can, but yeah. So this year I was like, no, we're only going to look for 2 recliners. We're going to downsize this jackknife sofa that's memory foam has long forgotten. 1 year of live aboard, and the memory foam needs help. So. And I said, okay, you should, you know, and I'm depending, again, in denial, surely this is doable, right? And I remember we went to the place where you pay for the custom order, and he said something about bringing it in and popping the windshield, and I was like, oh no, this is not happening. We walked away. I thought that was really progress. I walked away, and we went over to the chicken area, and we conferred, and this is where the critical wife in denial came through, was, well, we can do it ourselves, Mike said. We'll just do it ourselves. We'll just hire someone. We'll just take it out, and we'll put the new ones in. It'll probably be a day's work. We can hire someone to help us do that. Well, that sounds really good, right? And then, of course, the other thing, I feel like I have an affinity for Scarlett O'Hara, is it's 4 to 6 weeks before this thing comes in, so I don't have to worry about that, right? Well, guess what? The call came this week. And then my good friend, also in my posse, Vanessa, who also has lived in a coach, said, you know, Cate, I don't want to stress you out or anything, but the doors are really small on RVs. Geez, we're going to have to pop out the window. And there are the 2 cats. And so there goes the dust storm around Pigpen, right? So I have scheduled the best spa in the Indian Rocks area for the cats to retreat to. On Thursday, of course, I'm going to be at Trinity Memory Cafe because I'm smart enough to be out of Dodge. When the emergency vet comes, doses them, weighs them, does all the things that mobile vets does, and puts them in the carriers. And then I'm going to let Mike and the Tesla, the 3rd person in our relationship, because her name is Tess, and they're going to deliver the cats, and I'm going to try not to sweat about this the whole time. But you see, you can be brilliant, you can have all these degrees, but this is the biggest challenge, is juggling dementia, denial. This is an engineer, this man did coding, this man's a genius, he has patents. It never occurred to him that we would need to measure the door. And I love some of my friends. One of them said, well, sure. Oh, no, it was my daughter. Surely, Mom, a chainsaw. Oh, yeah, I want a chainsaw in the coach with Mike. I said, you know, I had thought of this, but we have to get the chairs in after the first ones are taken out. Oh, so there's going to be a day where the tin can isn't going to be the way to go. Right now, it's what we have and it's what we're living in, and it's all part of this picture. And again, I go back to the fulcrum. I'm balancing out quality of life with quantity. And the things that we're doing are fabulous for us. Mike really loves memory cafes. We have 10 of them. I just looked on the Memory Cafe website. There are 20 in Florida, and 10 of them are with Dr. Cate, so that's way cool, so that's good. And he's Mr. Dr. Cate. He has a name tag. He's my Sherpa. Today he was not feeling well, and I really noticed how much that matters. And I also know that there's changes, but it's so helpful to us to have this community of other people. And I do have great things to share. It's just very difficult sometimes for me to do it myself. And and what's really challenging because of Mike's aptitude, acuity, whatever the background is. He's been with me. He did all the proofreading for the dissertation. He comes to all my trainings, and he'll use it on me. This would be a good time for you to validate me. I was like, no more trainings. You can't be trained anymore. Or he'll say, well, your worker tells me that you're mean. She knows you're mean to me. So, and I am sometimes mean to him. Sometimes I just want him to be who he used to be. And I am in awe of people who have been married for more than, I've only been married 7 years. You've got history of going back to the well, and the well has fresh water, and you can survive. And I don't have that kind of history, but I still am going back to that well. I'm still looking for that cup of water that's not there, always. I guess the other take home is that it really does, again, avoiding the political part, it takes a lot of folks. It takes a village. You can't do this on your own. You can. You definitely will have the regret. And then when I look at the academic side of things and what all the research is saying, it's telling us we need to spend more time together, those who have it, so that we can support one another. Support is so important. We need more humor. We need more exercise. We could do better diets. These are important things. And yet, when you look at it all together, the most important thing is for us to survive, to be the last man standing. And that sounds really harsh, but it is absolutely true. Because if I am not taking care of myself, I won't be there when Mike has progressed and needs an advocate and needs someone running interference. So I'm preaching to my choir here, because I'm not very good at this, that it's very important that I put the oxygen mask on myself first, which we hear. But I just got my MRI. I came off the boat almost 3 years ago. I had a bad shoulder. I just got the MRI read just this past week. 3 years. It hurt, but just keep moving. And that is a strategy. But too many times through this 40 plus years, these are the people that are gone within a year of their loved one. And it's because they just kept moving and they didn't take care of themselves. So we're working on it, and it takes baby steps. I'm going to open it up for any questions you might have. I'm not sure where we are on timing. I didn't pay attention. So do we have any questions? And the good news is it's break time soon, too. So you'll get ready for Tam. Tam Cummings has been so helpful to me with her book with the parts of the brain. Yes?
What is it like for him, because he knows too much,
Yes,
right?
he does. Yes.
And so, like, my mother-in-law she knows that she doesn't remember things, but she doesn't know why. How is it affecting him knowing, it's like, what, Flowers for Algernon, that whole
That's true.
story.
I didn't think of that. Yeah. One of the biggest challenges for me as a spouse is not telling him that, see, there you go, that's evidence that you have it. And I know that's just evil to do that to someone. But he spends so much time, and I have other people in our memory cafes. It's the same situation where this was a brilliant man who has always had kudos. Usually both of these men I'm thinking of are only children. And so it's obviously all you, if you knew better. So they spend a lot of time telling you how wrong you are, which is, from the Dr. Cate perspective, is compensation. We understand that. So it's difficult, and part of that solution has been a little bit of pharmaceuticals. You know, we've had not so much success with CBD, mainly because he doesn't like to pay the price for it. God love him. but we've had some success with some serotonin reuptake inhibitor, light, you know. And I did manage to, because things got so quirky, just leaving a month ago, to suggest he take the full dose because he was only doing half of a dose. So I'm hopeful. Part of the dynamic with all of us, each of us is an individual. Each of us comes at it with our own stuff. And let me see. Mike has, and he would be here if I had manipulated him not being here. Mike has been an only child. I'm wife number 4. He was a genius. He had a stutter. So his big Achilles heel is abandonment. Now, I don't say that I'm leaving him, but I think in a way that I can say, look, this is getting really hard, and I need you to think about either going back to your therapist or taking more Celexa. And I didn't get an answer. I presented always in the morning, because he's sharpest in the morning, as the research says we all are. And he just didn't answer, but then 2 days later he started it, the Celexa, because he didn't want to pay for the cognitive behavioral therapist, even though she's cute. So, we call her by her first name because that's what we do. Right? So knowing your person, knowing what they are bringing to the table, what their baggage is, can help you navigate. Obviously not in a vicious way, but knowing that I really need you to do this. I've found, because Mike is a rescuer, that if I just say, I really can't handle this anymore, like I go at it as a humble, damsel in distress, I get a much better response. Not everybody's going to respond that way, but that's part of that picture. Any other questions?
Just have time for one more.
Right over there.
I just want to respond to the statement you made. And you're being a professional caregiver, have a lot more experience than I did. Nobody knows what it's like to be with a loved one that has Alzheimer's or dementia like you do, right there.
Absolutely.
One of the most difficult things that I've had is that I am not a good caregiver. I have a very strong personality of getting things done. Mm-hmm. And I constantly have to be telling my wife, I'm sorry for yelling at you for not doing this. I recognize that it's not you, it's this goddamn disease that I'm yelling at.
Yes.
And I don't know if that helps, but I get it off my chest, and then I apologize to her.
Perfect.
And she is an angel, and she smiles. So
yes, and that's really the basis of it, is to always go back, because then you have a clean conscience. Sometimes you're actually bringing up stuff they've already forgotten, but it doesn't matter, because it helps you to say, I'm sorry. Yeah, there are times where I don't give him credit. I don't give him eye contact. He's in my way. I want to run. And that's when I know that the balance is completely out of whack. And usually their behavior responds that way, Like if you spend a couple days with the routine out of whack, an example would be if he'd come with me today, then there would have been no nap. And nap time is very important. but he has to be home to have a nap, right? And it's not like I'm going to say, Mike, you need your nap time, but we know this. You know, if you look at your good days and you look at your bad days, you can surmise the changes. Sometimes it takes 24, 48 hours out. You kind of look at the broader picture. I have a person having a really hard time right now, and I know that the grandchildren just moved in. That's really kind of huge. Not only that we gave them our bed. That's huge. And we had a full moon. So those are all parts of that. But yeah, saying you're sorry, and you're right, there's nothing harder. Kudos to all of us.
Thank you, Dr. Cate, for a very moving and personal account of your journey with your husband and his disease.
Thank you.
You really moved me, and I assume the rest.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank
It's time to draw for a few more door prizes before we take a brief break. Maria is here. Let's do it. I'll hold it.
We have a great basket from Citizens Commission on Human Rights of Florida. Their table is right outside to your right. And the three last numbers, 717, 717. Oh, she got it. Olga. That's an example caregiver there. Then we have 716. Olga, come and get your 716. 716 going once, twice, 716. Anyone? No? Okay. 713. Oh, we have another caregiver here, and let's just do another one. Come on to the front. That is from...
What's that?
This is Arden Courts. Okay, this is from Arden Courts. We have another one, 660, 660. 660, okay, well, that's for her. And then we'll get one more. Who's that from? Arden Courts, number 2 gift. Thank you, Arden Courts. And let's take a 10-minute break, and I'll see you back. We have 2 more amazing speakers. Thank you.